Well, what a crazy day this was. The House got heated. Turns out Quebec only cares about Quebec. Who would have thought? They are saying, hey, we understand that everything is going wrong in Canada and the world is burning and Canada is burning, but what are you doing about the dirty pipeline to Quebec? It's weird. I mean, am I the only one that just says, shut them up. Just stop. Just put a muzzle on Quebec. Hey, people of Quebec, nothing inherently wrong with you. Your politicians absolutely suck. So, yeah, we're taking a look at Quebec in the House of Commons today. Also, Raquel Dancho, what? She is incredible. The main talking points of today's question period is how much money did we make as a country putting dollar for dollar retaliatory tariffs on America? And you want to take a guess at how many answers we got? None. I'm sorry. We all know that. But here we are discussing it in the House. So without further ado, here are the highlights from today's question period. Also, we need Pierre. Where's Pierre? Come on back, Pierre. We need you. Here's the video. Oral questions. Honorable interim leader of the Conservative Party.
Up, promising dollar for dollar tariffs on the U.S. and promising this would generate $20 billion in revenue. It turns out it was actually elbows down, and the Prime Minister broke his promise and secretly canceled those tariffs. Now Trump is threatening 50% tariffs on Canadian steel, which will devastate Canada's steel industry and put thousands of steel workers out of their jobs. Can the Prime Minister look steel workers in the eye, tell them it wasn't actually elbows down, and how much money his tariffs will actually generate?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Clear in this House and the Prime Minister, we will fight, Mr. Speaker, against these unjustified and illegal tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium, Mr. Speaker. We're going to protect our workers and our industry, and the Minister of Industry already spoke about that over the weekend. And we're going to build a strong Canada, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build a Canada of tomorrow, a confident Canada, a prosperous Canada, a Canada that we can all be proud, Mr. Speaker.
You had the chance to do that, and you haven't done that? You had the chance to do it, and you haven't done it?
It doesn't matter which Liberal stands up to answer a question in this Parliament or last Parliament. They just actually never answer a question, Mr. Speaker. And it's not complicated. Elbows up was dollar for dollar tariffs. Has the Prime Minister already broken his promise to steelworkers, or was elbows up simply just fake news? And now we're facing the Trump tariffs, and steelworkers from coast to coast to coast are in serious jeopardy of losing their jobs. It's a simple question. How much money from these quote-unquote elbows-up tariffs have they generated?
Now,
the Honourable Minister of Industry.
There's a lot of anxiety across the country, particularly when it comes to the steel and aluminum sectors. That's why over the weekend I've been in contact with industry leaders as well as union leaders. And we will continue to make sure that we protect their jobs. In order to be in solution mode, Mr. Speaker, we will make sure that Canadian steel and aluminum is used in our major infrastructure projects. That is why steel workers have said over the weekend, at a time where our steel and aluminum sectors are being hit by massive U.S. tariffs, this is the kind of leadership we've been demanding, and it has delivered.
She's such a LARPer, man. They're so fake.
Elbows up against U.S. tariffs. He promised dollar for dollar counter tariffs. He promised it would generate $20 billion in revenue, but he broke those promises. He secretly dropped counter tariffs to effectively zero. He stopped fighting back against President Trump pretty early on, and now Trump is threatening to double tariffs on Canadian steel to 50%, a direct attack against our workers, their livelihoods, and the Canadian economy. So if the Prime Minister really is elbows up, if he's really fighting back, can he tell our steelworkers how many dollars have been collected in counter tariff revenue from the U.S.? How many dollars? What's the number, Mr.
Yes.
The Honourable Minister
Put some W's down in the
of
chat
Industry.
for her, huh?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my colleague and congratulate her for the fact that she will be now my critic. So good news, looking forward to working with her. Indeed, the comments coming out of the White House are preoccupying. That being said, no executive order has been signed yet. So we take these comments very seriously, but we are working on all scenarios. That's why the Prime Minister is in Saskatoon meeting with the premiers of the provinces and territories, and that's also why we will make sure that we execute our plan, fight, protect, and build.
You don't do shit. shit.
The honourable member
Haven't done nothing.
in St. Paul.
Is there a dollar amount on revenue from those counter tariffs? So we can assume it's effectively zero. And if the steel tariffs weren't bad enough, the Prime Minister is determined to keep the industrial carbon tax on our steel production, driving up the cost of steel production here at home, which perhaps is really no surprise given the Prime Minister said he claimed that Canadians don't even use that much steel, as if we don't use dishwashers and fridges and cars and pots and pans and baby strollers and housing infrastructure, all of which are made with steel, Mr. Speaker. So how can the Prime Minister claim to be elbows up for workers and fighting for affordability while keeping a punishing carbon tax on our Canadian steel producers?
Man, put a W down for
Minister
her,
of
That's fiery.
Finance and National Revenue.
We'll take no lesson from the Conservative. Mr. Speaker, to protect our workers in the steel industry, in the aluminum industry, in the forestry sector, in all the sectors of our economy, to defend our workers and our industry, Mr. Speaker. We should all in this room, in this House, stand proudly to defend Canadian workers, defend Canadian industry, and build Canada strong. That's Canadian, Mr. Speaker.
But where's the dollar figure of the counter
Member for
tariffs?
Chicoutimi-Lefior.
Such a load of crap, eh?
Speaker, the Liberals got elected by promising that Trump's tariff threats would be their top priority. And yet, it's not the new tariff threats on aluminum and steel that are being discussed today in Saskatoon between the premiers. No, the priority being discussed is forcing Quebec to accept a dirty oil pipeline from the West. Quebecers voted for a government that would protect them from Donald Trump.
No, you're getting a pipeline.
Vote for pipelines.
Deal with it and
Are the
shut up,
Liberals
please.
going to get their priorities straight?
No, Quebec's getting 2 pipelines.
The Honourable Minister
We
of
only need
Industry.
one, but put 2 pipelines through there.
Mr.
Shut
Speaker,
them up.
obviously Quebecers are very concerned by the tariff war from the U.S., and that's why they elected us with 44 Quebec MPs. This is the first time since '81, and we are going to be here to defend jobs and workers in the aluminum sector, because we know that these tariff threats are against this sector. So we're going to work with the member from Lac-Saint-Jean and Bécancour, etc. But fundamentally, we're going to stand up tall to protect our jobs. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, even before meeting with Quebec and the provinces today, the Prime Minister met with business leaders yesterday. Not representatives from the steel and aluminum industries to discuss Trump's new tariff threats. No, he met with CEOs from the fossil fuel sector. Oil companies first, Quebec and the provinces a close second. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was not elected to serve oil companies. He was elected to protect Quebec's economy from Donald Trump's threats.
Oh,
how come these oil companies are coming first? The Honourable Minister of Industry. I think the Bloc needs to understand that the role of the PM is to talk to everyone, whether it's in the aluminum sector or in steel or clean energy or traditional energy. That's the job of the Prime Minister. That's something that the Bloc will never understand. Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, what's fundamental is right now we want to build. We're going to invest in major infrastructure projects. And one of the infrastructure projects for the Quebec that is fundamental is the high-speed train from Windsor to Quebec City, something that the Bloc should support. The honourable member for Jean-Pierre.
This should have been done years ago.
While the prairies are burning, the premiers are in Saskatoon talking about dirty oil pipelines and abandoning environmental assessments. That's Canadian identity today, Mr. Speaker. A Liberal Prime Minister who talks to oil companies before talking to his provincial counterparts. Provinces that isolate Quebec to force it to accept a pipeline. All these people keep telling us that it's a matter of Canadian unity and of national interest. Does the Minister of Canadian Identity also believe that Canadian unity and the national interest mean building pipelines while the prairies burn?
Oh my goodness,
the Honourable
man.
Minister of Industry.
Quebec needs to be
Mr.
shut
Speaker,
down.
You know what's the national interest? That's that's job creation and protecting jobs, and
They're
that's
ruin
what
this country
people in
more
all
than they already
ridings where
have.
the Bloc are active in. Who's able to deliver? There's just one party, and that's the Liberal Party, and there's only one government that can protect and create jobs, and that's us. We're going to do this by working with the Quebec government, of course, and traveling with the provinces, but it's fundamental in this tariff war to fight against this White House rhetoric and to create jobs at the same time.
Honourable member for Flamborough, Glen Brook, Brant North. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister promised elbows up, promising dollar-for-dollar tariffs on the U.S. that would collect $20 billion. The Prime Minister broke that promise, giving Canadians elbows down when he dropped the tariffs on the U.S. to effectively zero. Now Trump is threatening to double tariffs on Canadian steel to 50%, attacking Canadian workers, their jobs, their livelihoods, and our industry. Can the Prime Minister tell our steel workers how much has been collected from tariffs on the U.S.?
It's a simple question.
The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue.
How many billions of dollars?
On the other side is misinformed, but let's talk about the great things we've been doing for Canadians lately.
No.
Last week we introduced
Speaker should shut this down.
Air tax reduction for the middle class, Mr. Speaker. 22 million Canadians.
House Speaker needs to shut that down. He didn't answer the question. This isn't an advertising platform.
But we also make sure that we remove the GST for first-time home buyers on their first house up to $1 million, Mr. Speaker. Those are measures that makes a difference in the life of Canadians. Those are measures that makes a difference in every region of Canada. Those are measures that build a Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Flamborough, Glanbrook, Brant North.
So did you hear that, steel workers in Hamilton? Not a number in that arrogant answer.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's surprising, given that this is a government whose Prime Minister believes that Canadians don't actually use steel in their daily lives. But for workers and businesses in my community of Hamilton who are looking for the support that might have come from the revenue of those counter tariffs, they're being left empty-handed and they are worried about their future. So let me ask again, if the Liberals are truly fighting back, can they tell us how much has been collected from tariffs? How much just...
How much? We want to know. Stream froze.
a number.
Just a number.
The Honourable Minister of
The fact
Industry.
that they can't even produce a number is
There's
embarrassing.
a lot of anxiety across the country in the steel and aluminum sector,
Oh, give
particularly
me
in
a
Hamilton.
fucking
That's
break,
why I was
man.
in contact with the CEO of ArcelorMittal, the FASC, over the weekend, talking to the head also of the Canadian steelworkers, making sure that our MPs also from Hamilton are really on board and as they're fighting for the jobs in their own communities. Mr. Speaker, this rhetoric coming out of the White House is extremely preoccupying, but meanwhile, no executive order has been signed. That's why we'll continue to fight with counter tariffs to protect our workers and to make sure
How
that
much
we
money you
build
raise
national
from counter
progress.
tariffs?
The honourable member for New Tecumseh, Willenbury.
Mr. Speaker, unemployment is up 7%. Youth unemployment is 14%. Canadians can't find work, and the burden of government red tape is making things even worse. Small businesses spend 32 working days every year wrapped up in excessive regulations. It's no wonder they can't afford to hire or innovate. Will the Liberals finally cut the red tape, strangling our economy so businesses can hire and Canadians can find a job?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs for Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, this government is focused on making sure that employers have the quality, skill, talent that they need to grow their small, medium-sized businesses and ensure that corporations across this country have the kind of innovation and talent that they are all asking for. So I would recommend that that member listen to the employers and check in with the employers in his riding who are talking about the need for more talent. We'll be there, Mr. Speaker, for every Canadian that wants to ensure they can too get a great job.
The honourable member for New Tecumseh, Willenbury.
It's been 10 years, and I have been listening to Canadians, and the minister should listen to Canadians who can't find a
sounds
job.
like the T-Rex
there are
from,
fewer new
Toy
entrepreneurs
Story.
than ever. Productivity and growth are down. Forget the scissors, forget the pruners, hum them. We need a chainsaw to cut through all this red tape. It's time to clear a path for Canadians to be successful and to hire. So why do the Liberals keep choking Canadian workers and businesses with their red tape?
Sounds like the dinosaur from Toy Story.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister often says, no one can do to Canada the kind of bad things to be against the good things that Canadians can do for themselves. The Prime Minister and Minister today doing the hard work of removing red tape in the form of internal trade barriers so we can have one Canadian economy and not 13 Canadian economies. This will lower prices up to 15%, productivity up to 7%, and add $200 billion to the economy, Mr. Speaker. That's eliminating red tape. That's standing up for Canada.
The honourable member for Windsor West.
These guys can't answer a single question.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised elbows up, promising dollar-for-dollar tariffs on the U.S. and claimed he would collect $20 billion. The Prime Minister broke down that promise, giving Canadian steel and auto workers an elbow in the ribs when he dropped tariffs on the U.S. to effectively zero. Now President Trump is threatening to double tariffs on Canadian steel to 50%, attacking Canadian workers, their jobs, their livelihoods, and our industry. Can the Prime Minister tell us how much he has actually collected from tariffs, and so far, how is he going to help secure jobs in Windsor?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Only we will make sure that Canadian steel and aluminum is in our major projects, but we will make sure that all the investments we're putting in defense are to create jobs, which will have an impact on the steel and aluminum sector. And that is why the United Steelworkers mentioned at a
$20 billion in revenue, but in reality, he quietly dropped the tariffs on the U.S., practically to zero. And now Donald Trump is threatening to double tariffs on Canadian steel to 50%. This will destroy our industry and punish our workers. Since the Canadian tax revenue was supposed to support Canadian steel workers, can the Prime Minister tell us how much has he collected so far for jobs in Oxford, and just give us just the number?
The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue.
Speaker, I would like to see in this House the same movement we've seen with steel workers in the industry, Mr. Speaker. This is a nation where we need to come together as a nation. This is a moment to fight together these unjustified tariffs, Mr. Speaker. This is a time to make sure we protect our industry and our worker. This is a time where we need to build this country, like the Prime Minister is doing with the premiers today in Saskatoon.
Oh, mon Dieu. All they can talk
Mr.
about
Speaker,
are the premier's
I just
meeting
wish in this House that everyone would
Saskatoon.
stand up to defend our industry, defend our worker, and build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
They can't answer a single freaking question.
Surprise, surprise, they can't give us a number.
Yeah.
And now Trump's 50% tariffs on steel will shut down our plants across our country. Thousands of jobs are on the line. Layoffs have already started in Oxford. There is anxiety on our floor shops and our kitchen tables. And it's not just Trump's tariffs that are killing jobs, it's also the Liberal industrial carbon tax. That's right. If the Prime Minister can't get a deal with Trump on tariffs, we'll at least give our workers a fighting chance. Remove the Liberal industrial carbon tax today.
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
If they care about tariffs,
Mr. Speaker, we know
why aren't
that
they
we
doing,
need to make sure
removing the
that
carbon
we
tax?
fight back with strong counter tariffs against this rhetoric
fighting back
coming out
against
of the
us.
White House. But you know what, Mr. Speaker, our strategy has been working. There's only 2 countries on earth that have put counter tariffs against tariffs by the Americans, China and us. And by the way, today the U.S. Chamber of Commerce said that this threat of 50% tariffs in the steel and aluminum sector was completely unacceptable. We will work with our allies within the American society, and we will make sure that we fight back.
She's such a dumb twat.
The Honourable Member for
Oh
BTB
my
Timiskaming.
Well, the Prime Minister may be meeting, but he sure isn't listening. While he dawdles, the opportunities to unleash Canadian energy pass us by because of the Liberals' anti-energy legislation that blocks infrastructure and blocks investment. Like the provinces, they want to build. Canadian workers want to work. Canadians want energy independence, but C-69 blocks pipelines, 48 blocks shipping. The job-killing carbon tax, or the industrial carbon tax, is punishing our energy sector.
Of trade around the world, this government will fight, protect, and build. This Prime Minister is in Saskatoon today with 13 provincial and territorial leaders to build one Canadian economy, not 13. And yes, Mr. Speaker, we intend to build this country. We intend to build major national projects in this country, and we intend to put Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, and Canadian workers to work building the country that we live in.
The honourable member for
You ain't building nothing, man. You can't even get a pipeline done.
The Prime Minister is meeting with provinces in Saskatoon today. The consensus is clear as the call to build pipelines and energy infrastructure becomes louder and louder. The only one standing in the way is the federal Liberal government. Building energy projects means a stronger Canadian economy, less dependence on the United States, and powerful paychecks for Canadian workers. Will the Liberal government approve a pipeline at the meeting in Saskatchewan today?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has been very, very clear, and I don't know if my friends across the aisle have heard it quite clearly. Certainly Canadians heard it in the last federal election when they returned a Liberal government with a very, very clear mandate.
Bro, you guys campaign on lies and fear. What are you talking about?
Against trade threats from other places, protect the citizens of this country, protect, yes, our natural resources, protect our workers, but also, Mr. Speaker, to build this country, to build major national projects. That's what's on the agenda today in Saskatoon, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Northwest.
Mr. Speaker, we hear a lot of rhetoric from this Liberal government about making Canada an energy superpower, but their commitment to job-killing anti-Canadian energy legislation holds back our potential as a nation. The actions needed today are to repeal the No New Pipeline C-69, repeal the shipping ban C-48, repeal the job-killing oil and gas production cap, repeal the industrial carbon tax. So will this Liberal government take action today, the action needed to repeal their anti-energy agenda?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, I don't know how we can be much more clear. The Prime Minister convened the 13 provincial and territorial leaders today with the express purpose of discussing with them the kind of major national nation-building projects that this country can consider undertaking. That is what is going on in Saskatoon. I don't know if the members across actually follow the news or followed the election campaign, but what happened is we said it's time to build, Mr. Speaker, and build is what we're going to do.
That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes today's video. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you want to see those streams, head on over to House of Canada, where I live stream every single question period that takes place. Also, if you liked the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you later on. Bye for now.